Well, hello everybody, and today in the studio I'm delighted to welcome Andrew Horder. Now, Andrew, you talk a lot about celebrating your joyful genius.
Absolutely.
And I was wondering if you'd tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, certainly. But see, I have this belief that we all have not just a right, but actually a duty to find joy in our work. And I think each of us has something unique that we can bring to the world and that we are actually a genius at. Something that we are the only person in the world can do it.
It's a very reassuring thought, isn't it?
It is, yeah. You know, we are all of us geniuses. One of the troubles is that, of course, people are very reluctant to own up to their genius. Because, you know, oh, I'm a genius. That's, you know, a little bit bragging, isn't it? Well, it is, but, you know, when you think about the things that you are a genius at, you're not saying that I'm Einstein. What you're saying is there's one thing that I do better than anybody else on the planet.
Not terribly British to own up to that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, that's why us Brits don't tend to do that. And, you know, even, you know, some of the more, shall we say, open nations like the Americans, they're still a little bit concerned about going to their clients and saying, you know, or their friends or whatever, and saying, you know, I'm a genius. Ooh. You know, there's this, you know, the Australians call it tall poppy syndrome, where, you know, as soon as you set yourself up to be really good at something, someone's going to chop you down. And I think we're all overly worried about that. So what I love to do is to help people to find that thing that they really are brilliant at. They love doing it, hence the joyful. And something that they can get paid to do, find a way to get paid to do that thing that they're exceptional at.
So it's helping people to find what they're really good at, what they love to do, and actually make a decent living out of it.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about, you know, do what you love for a living and make a living doing what you love. Because let's face it, you can do what you love, but if you don't make a living at it, you're not going to be able to do it for long. Not unless you're living off the family trust fund, and most of us aren't doing that.
Yeah, sadly, it would be nice.
Wouldn't it be nice?
Wouldn't it? Yeah. And you talk too about this concept of the busy fool.
Yes. I mean, the busy fool is typically, particularly with people who, you know, recently started out on their own business, but you see it within corporates as well, where people are running around like lunatics. They're doing everything that anybody asks them to do because they're afraid to say no. They think that if they say no to a piece of work, then no more is going to come their way. And they end up doing work that it's not their joyful genius.
So this is the scarcity mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
Yeah, it's very fear-driven.
Yes, exactly. You've got this feeling that if I don't do this, then I'm not going to get enough money, and I'm not going to be able to pay the bills, I'm not going to pay the mortgage, I'm going to have to take the kids out of school, and, you know, we're not going to go on holiday, and all that kind of stuff. That, you know, the sort of fears that probably follow most early stage entrepreneurs, that's for sure. But also, I think quite a lot of people in you know, what you might call the real world, the employed world. So it's finding the stuff that is where you make the real difference, where people really value what you're doing, and then focus in on that and stay focused on it, not getting distracted by all the stuff that other people might ask you to do because they think you're better at it than them, and you might well be, but you might still not be the best person to do the job.
That's a very, very interesting, I think, because it's always seemed to me, for years and years I've believed this, that the things that come most easily to us are the things that we should really be doing, but they feel so commonplace that actually they feel that like they haven't got any value. But those are the things that other people see in us as being particularly special.
Exactly. And it's about what other people value. The trick is, you know, to learn to see what other people value and be willing to be paid for doing that. Because very often we find it so easy. There's, you know, the Protestant work ethic is, you know, like if it's not hard and it's not miserable, then we shouldn't be getting paid for it. You can't be paid for having fun. What's that about? Not allowed, old chap. And that is driven, you know, right through, you know, it goes through the American, certainly all the Anglo-Saxon nations, Germanics, everybody has this kind of, oh, I've got, you know, if I'm enjoying myself, I'm not allowed to have fun. I'm not allowed to get paid for it. And one of the best concepts I've heard about that is this concept of, do you work for pay or do you get paid for your work? You know, working for pay is where you only reason you do it is because you get paid. If you didn't get paid for it, you wouldn't do it. And to me, I think that's quite a sad state of affairs, because it's that, again, making yourself miserable in order to receive an income.
But it's an incredibly difficult threshold for some people to cross, to go from that sort of going to work in a corporate, let's say, to actually saying, this isn't what, I know this is not what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Yeah. And then stepping out and saying, here's something that I really love to do. And my observation of the world is that out there somewhere, somebody is making a living doing anything you can imagine.
Absolutely.
Which then gives a person permission to say, well, I can do this if all I have to do is step out.
Absolutely. And the reverse of that coin is, I've found in my experience that for every job out there, there is someone who can find joy in that job, in completing that task.
So, and the consequence of that is, if you're sitting in a job that you hate, you're denying that job to somebody else.
Absolutely. Those guys I call them the joy stealers. Because, let's face it, if you are doing a job that you don't enjoy, you are stealing the joy of the guy who could find joy in that job. And that's a very important thing to be aware of. Now, does that mean that finding joy in your work is not just a right, but a duty? You see where that came from now? So go out and find the work that you absolutely love to do, that you're brilliant at, and that people will pay you for.
That's a very sobering thought, isn't it?
It is, that somehow we think that we're supposed to be miserable in our work. And actually, when we're miserable in our work, we're cheating.
We're cheating ourselves, and we're cheating
ourselves. We're cheating the people who are paying us as well. Because there's this thing called enjoyment performance theory that says that we do better at work that we enjoy, and we enjoy work that we do well at, or that we do well. So that means if someone's paying you to do a job and it's not work that you enjoy, you're not doing it as well as somebody who would enjoy it. So your client, your employer, is not getting full value out of you. How wrong is that? So that's why I bang on about doing work that you love, the joyful genius thing, and why I bang on about from busy fool to busy cool, because it's only when you get to doing your joyful genius that you get to be busy cool. Because busy's good. Don't get me wrong, busy is good. But it's got to be with the right things, with the things that you love to do and you're naturally talented at, and you can find people to pay you for.
And I think there's an important point about the people that, if people watching this will be in corporate jobs that they're not very comfortable with. And I think it's important to accept that it takes time to find that joyful genius.
It does. It does. It's very tempting to just sort of, there's a lot of people go, just do what you love and the money will come. I wish that were true.
It doesn't work like that.
It's true for some people, but only a very small number. The vast majority need to think about how they're going to take that work that they love and turn it into a business, or find somebody to pay them to do it.
And actually that process, or being inside that process as you're in your corporate job, actually brings joy to the corporate job because it's got a purpose.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a tool that I use I call it the opportunity matrix, where it gets that balance between passion and pragmatism in your work. It's a lovely little 4-box matrix, but the short takeaway from it is that very often there's work that it's not very high on passion, but it's very, very high on pragmatism. It's the work you're already doing, you're already getting paid to do it, you know how to do it, but actually you'd really rather not. And a lot of people have work that's high on the other dimension. It's very high on passion, but not very high on pragmatism. You love to do it, but you can't work out how to get paid for it. I call that one pie in the sky. The other one I call bread and butter. And my wife describes that as going to the cash machine. It's like it's your ATM. So you go to the cash machine, you take the money from your bread and butter work, and you use that to fund working out how to get your pie in the sky work across, so that it's high on pragmatism as well as high on passion. So that I call JFDI. Just do it.
And that's a very different model to what a lot of people do, because what the common response to that is at the moment is to sort of self-medicate on drink or or going or sport or whatever it is, and sort of just patch it in the moment rather than use it as a tool to drive forward and say, what is it that I really want to do?
Well, see, that's this thing about work-life balance. You know, it's work-life balance pretends that work and life are two different things. That we don't actually, spend. Let's face it. Most of us spend half our waking hours either at work or going to or from work. So do you really want to be doing over half your life miserable in order to be okay in the other half of your waking life?
It doesn't make any
kind of sense at all. So I talk about blending the work. I talk about integrating work-life, blending work and life, so that it all becomes life. The work that you're doing is work that you absolutely love doing. You're having fun. You're living your purpose on the planet. Let's face it. And you also, because you're not separating work and life, when you're doing your social life, your family life, that's just as enjoyable. So you get joy on both sides of the equation. You don't like go, I'll go and be miserable for 8 hours or 10 by the time you include travel, in order to go home and have 6 hours of joy, and then I'll go back to being miserable for 10 hours, and then I'll have joy. Life just doesn't work that way, because actually, when you're miserable as sin at your work, you don't go home and get joyful. You go home and kick the cat at work, at best. Sometimes it's not the cat that you take it out on.
Absolutely.
You start taking it out on your family, and then the whole family life. So, enjoying your work is fundamental to enjoying your life, I think.
I think absolutely right. And my experience of stepping out of the corporate rut and starting to do what I have a ball these days.
Absolutely, so do I.
And it's lovely.
It wasn't easy.
Trust me, it wasn't
absolutely
easy. It's a long walk, sometimes, but worth it.
Yeah, in the end. And what I'm setting out to do is to make that walk a bit shorter. Because you and I, we've made mistakes on the way, and we've learnt from our mistakes. Now, what I want is for those mistakes to get shared.
So, Andrew, you have a website where you talk about this and a lot more, I guess?
Yeah, I do. It's andrewhorder.com.
And I imagine on your website you have a free download.
I've got a free report called From Busy Fool to Busy Cool.
So, Andrew, thank you so much for coming. It's been a delight to have you in the studio. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time. That's it for now. Bye-bye.